Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the second annual Geek Buddy Bleach review. Sorry, nearly said Wrestle Buddy again then. Old habits die hard. This was a fantastic episode this week, just to get straight into it. Animation, top-notch as per usual, absolutely beautiful to look at. The new opening credits are phenomenal. The band that won for the song that they play is a really catchy tune. I really enjoy it. I think it fits Bleach really, really well, and it goes in the pattern of the artists they've used in the past for previous casts. It's very, very good. But just to get straight into it, this week's episode opens on Yuha Buck talking to Ludus, the stern ritter whose arm he chopped off last week, saying how he's very disappointed and he dislikes arguing. Gives Ludus a chance to speak, then he pops his head like a grape. We then cut to the opening credits. I said, banger of a tune. Absolutely love the credits theme. I think it fits really, really well. Then we cut to Ichigo's bedroom, where all of the main characters, except for Ichigo, of course, are sat talking about how Ichigo ran off to fight Ebon last week, about how I'm sure Ichigo's going to be fine, but they're slightly worried about him because he hasn't come back yet. Cue Ichigo coming back through his window. Ichigo returns. Then we cut to the recruit who was recovering in his bed. His soul phone starts ringing, and it's a national alert from the Soul Society talking about how the Captain Yamamoto was attacked last week, and Sasakibe, his lieutenant, has died, along with 166 members of the Soul Reaper Corps. Squad members have been slaughtered by this Wandenreich, these invading people who we know are the Sternritters. Then there is a beautiful scene of Ichigo and Uryu Ishida and Chad and Orihime just sitting on their beds or looking on a park bench, looking out a window with this fantastic guitar riff playing in the background. It's absolutely beautiful animation, just stunningly well drawn. And music that they play in the background just fits so well to set the scene and loss and worry. We then cut to a scene where Ichigo is on patrol and Nell, a Arrancar, who people will remember from the Arrancar arc. Nell, whose full name I cannot remember, should I say, but the young girl who turns into the beautiful blue-haired lady with the lance. Nell shows up and starts begging Ichigo for help because Wakamundo is under attack. Wakamundo being the land of the Hollows where they all live. Then it cuts back to Ludus again after Yuha has popped his head off. He then starts to talk to Ebon, says Ebon has done wonderfully well. He will be the blueprint for what happens for a Arrancar that come into the Quincy forces, and boom, he just pops his head like a grape as well, and he just collapses over and dies. Then it cuts to a shot of Halibel, who's basically taken over as leader of the Arrancar since Baragon was killed in the Arrancar arc in previous seasons, has now been captured by Yuha and has been strung up very unnecessarily, and has now been taken prisoner and should be there for the foreseeable future, basically. Then we cut to Ichigo and Nell again, where Pesce, one of Nell's guardians, falls out the sky and just crashes into the ground next to them. We then cut to Sasakibe's funeral in the Soul Society. Beautiful scene, very short scene, but very powerful scene, very well done. Showed just how much Sasakibe meant to Captain Yamamoto. Showed flashbacks of Yamamoto accepting him as his lieutenant and so on and so forth. That was very nice. We then cut back to Ichigo's room where all the gang are discussing what they're going to do about Wakamundo. Whether they're going to go, whether they're not going to go. They all agree to go except for Uryu Ishida, who says he cannot go because he is a Quincy and Quincy's job is to destroy Hollows, not to help them. This was an expected answer. Ichigo tells Uryu he knew he was going to say this. Uryu just says, Ichigo, be careful. Mr. Hat and Clogs shows up, whose name always eludes me. Kisuke Urahara shows up in the window and says, do you need a trip to Wakamundo? As if he'd just been waiting there the entire time, which you later find out in the episode he was. No, it doesn't. It cuts back to the Sternritters, and it cuts back to a man named Hashwolf, who is Yuha Buck's first lieutenant, discussing with Yuha how the medallion that Ebon used to try and steal Ichigo's Bankai had actually been used successfully, but for some reason didn't work. We then cut to Ichigo, Kisuke Urahara, and the gang running through the Garganta, the passage that takes you to Wakamundo. They arrive with a bang, crashing to the ground in what is effectively now a graveyard. just hundreds of Arrancar and Hollows dead all around on the floor, and a group of Stern Ritters take another group of Hollows off as prisoners. In the distance, Ichigo, of course, gives chase. Kuohei OP, who is one of the Stern Ritters, has a line of Arrancar and Hollows lined up. He's basically telling them, I'm going to stab each and every one of you in line. If any of you wish to surrender or to join us, to beg for forgiveness, please drop to your knees as if you are kissing my boots, and I will consider it. One of the Arrancar steps forward and says, so if we say you will join you will let us live. Kuohei just says, no, and gets his very long halberd and just stabs him straight through the chest and pins him to the wall, which he proceeds to do to the entire group until it gets to the last two, who pull out swords. And it turns out these were Aizen's Fraction, the two girls whose names I can never remember, one with the black pigtails and the one with the short blonde hair. They are dealt with very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. They are dead now. Shortly after this, Halibel's Fraction shows up. The three girls who can summon the giant beast. They have a good go, but Kuohei OP eventually absolutely decimates them. And Ichigo shows up to find the remains of the Arrancar, not in a particularly pleasant together corpse. They've been absolutely obliterated by Kuohei. It's just the power difference is absurd. Yes, we then cut back to Captain Yamamoto's office, where the head of research and development is telling everybody that the imbalance of souls that has been caused by the Vondenreich in the human world from the mass amounts of Hollows that were slaughtered last week has led to an imbalance of souls that is so great it could possibly cause the Soul Society and therefore the human world to collapse. Fantastic episode. Absolutely loved it. It was more of a stage setter this week rather than just action from go to start. It was putting pieces in place and moving people around the chessboard for where they needed to be to continue the story. If I'm going to give this episode a rating, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because it did exactly what it needed to do. I know I'm biased because I absolutely adore Bleach, but I loved this episode. I thought it was phenomenally well done. Real interesting story beats, very, very beautiful animation as per usual, fantastic soundtrack, real solemn scenes that you don't often get from Bleach, but at least you didn't used to often get from Bleach, whereas now they're going to be necessary for the 1,000-Year Blood War. But that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy what we do here at Geek Buddy, if you like the content that we put out, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like for the video. It really helps us out. It's free and it's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate everybody that watches these reviews. I'll be back next week. I've been Nick the Geek. Bye.